Angela Gentile. Thank you so much for joining me and a very warm welcome to Thrive Solo. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here. Genuinely, I'm super excited to talk to you. I think you're awesome and there are lots of questions I have for you. So let's get going. But
Thank
before we
you.
do, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, friend. I appreciate just anytime I get to connect with like a badass woman, and talk about our lives, not the roles we play. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
just
yeah.
much. Yeah, I'm good into all that. But just thank you for having me. And hi, everyone. My name is Angela Gentile, and I am a single, child-free, elder millennial, hoping to inspire women to just live their truth and empower themselves to do what works for them. And
Love
I
it.
also run a community just like you of single and child-free women. So we're out here. We're
Awesome.
out here.
Absolutely, we are. And thank you for the introduction. And actually, before we dive into anything to do with being single and not having kids, there's some things that I'm actually probably more interested to talk to you about. And I think you will totally get this and probably feel the same way. So, the thing that I want to talk to you about first is being a dreamer, because I'm a bit of a dreamer, a lot of a dreamer. And I get the impression that you are too. And I don't think many people give themselves permission to dream because most of us think that our dreams are ridiculous and that, well, yes, of course I have these dreams, but they're never going to come true. And I like to live my life in terms of I have these dreams and I'm going to fucking make them happen. Can you speak to this?
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. I think it's pretty layered, right? I do think that there's a little bit of your personality that comes into this, right? So I'm not a safe play it by the rules kind of person. I never have been. So I think if what I'm saying feels counterintuitive to you, maybe the way that you go and approach your dreams is a little bit different than me. But I'm just can I swear?
Oh my God, are you joking? Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I'm like, fuck it, burn it down, middle fingers. I don't care. And I've kind of just been a little bit aggressive like that always. But I think for me, the reason and the ways that I go after my dreams and goals with such fervor is I was faced with my own mortality and just mortality in general when my father died suddenly almost 10 years ago. And that was, I think, an earth shattering, mind altering situation for me that made me realize life just like that can end. And I was like, if anything can be taken from you so quickly, your own life, the people you love, why are you spending one fucking second of your life being unhappy and being miserable? Because for all we know, we get one of these things and nobody gets out of this alive. So why waste it? And for me, when I lost my dad, that was the thing that made me put the pedal to the metal and stop living in fear and stop worrying about the should and what looked good on paper and really connect to what my spirit was saying and what my body was calling me to do, because you feel it. I know everybody listening is like, there's a situation in your life when you're like, I hate this, and then you'll but yourself for another 6 months, a year, 5 years, and then here you are in the same situation. So I think
Yeah.
until you're really when it resonates with you that this is it, this is all we get, and you can decide, like, are you sick of your bullshit yet, and are you ready to go pedal to the metal into your dreams, or are you happy just staying stuck? And I think that's a very personal decision when people make, and for me, I learned it through earth-shattering loss.
Yeah. This is why I wanted to speak to you about this, because I resonate so much with other stuff that I've heard you say on other podcasts, on your Instagram about this kind of stuff, because I, like you, really made significant changes in my life because I knew that what I was previously doing was not enough and I was going fucking mental, not to
Yes.
put too
Yeah,
fine a point on it.
totally. Totally. I get
And
that.
I'm gonna kind of come back to this, but there's one thing I wanted to ask you before, which is, what is the work that you have had to do on yourself to create this life that you've created, which, as far as I can see, is one of intention and it's like living life on your own terms? What have you had to do to get here?
Oh my God, how much time do we have? I feel like each step is its own podcast. I don't want to glaze over the fact that this has been over a decade of journeying. and a decade of work. It's not like I woke up one day and was like, I'm going to have a great life. It didn't happen overnight. And it is not something that I think codifies completely. It's always a work in progress, right? So I think the first thing that I had to do was really assess and take inventory in my life of what was actually going on. And what did I have? What was I doing? What made me happy? What sucked? What did I not want to do? And I had a lot of questions that I had to answer, and a lot of hard questions of like, whose is this? Is this yours? Are you doing this because you want to, or are you doing it because someone told you that you should? Right. So I had to do like an inventory, an emotional, spiritual, physical, financial inventory of like what was actually true, what was actually mine, and how it made me feel. And I think once I got clear on what wasn't working, right? 10 years ago, I was a public school teacher, which by the mouth on me, you would be like, you taught children? I sure did. And that should tell you everything you need to know on how misaligned I was in my life. Like I got into that profession because someone told me that's what I should do. I mean, we're the same age roughly, right? Yeah. It was the 90s, y'all. Like we weren't having conversations about entrepreneurship in my small rural town in Massachusetts. It was, you're a woman. Okay, well, you're going to be a mom. So you should probably get a job that, exploits even more of your emotional labor and go be a teacher. And like, I'm 16, 17 years old. And I'm like, okay, I don't fucking know. I'm just doing what people were telling me. Right. So that wasn't mine. That career choice was not mine. That was a societal push. That was a limiting, I think, location where I was like that wasn't even mine. So the career itself wasn't mine, not at all. So I had to let that go.
Yeah.
That was hard because I was making good money. I went to school for it. And I think my identity, and I think that that's important too. We sometimes stay in situations because of the verbiage that we use. I am a teacher. I am a this. I am. No. That's a role. That's a role you play. I teach. Which also means I don't teach, right? Like I think if you change your verbiage around what it is that you do, not necessarily who you are, it makes the disentanglement a little bit easier. But I obviously
we get wrapped up in that identity.
100%.
I am this or I am that.
Yep. And if I'm not that, then who am I? And that's a scary fucking place to be.
Totally.
But yeah, I think that was step one, really taking inventory on what was not working, what wasn't mine. And then when I got rid of a lot of things, I started having space to listen to myself of like, what do I want? And I was 35 years old at the time. And this is the first time I started asking this question of like, take out all the noise. What is it that you want? What do I want? I'm 35 years old and I'm finally asking myself this question without, influence. And I narrowed it down to literally like 5 things. What do I want in my life? I want to be around people who want to be around me. I want to be outside as much as I possibly can. I want to eat good food. I want to move my body. And I want to inspire people to be incredible and badass. And that was really what I went with. That was it. That's when I got clear on like, these are the things that need to happen in my life. And I was like, well, I haven't been doing that. So anything that doesn't stay connected to that, adios.
Yeah.
I don't keep it in my life. And I think it's been a journey of sussing things out that don't align to those bigger, sentiments in my life. And that's the practice, I think, is every level up in your life and every new experience, you have to have that conversation of, does this work for me? Is this in alignment for me? And it's always an ebbing and flowing. And if you're evolving, then your life has to evolve around with you. And that's with the people in it, with the things you're doing, with the choices you're making, with the belief sets you have, with the skill sets. And sometimes we realize that there might be some skills we're lacking and we need to go and get them and achieve something in order for our life to feel in alignment. Sometimes we're saying, oh, these people are not in alignment and I need to just let them go and move them over here with love. Right. So it's just a constant inventory taking, I think, to stay connected to what it is that you really want. So I think that's sort of the short answer of it, of how I got here and the work that I did. A lot of questioning and tons of therapy. Let me just say that, like, tons of therapy, coaches, just commitment. I was committed to learning about myself and making sure that the things that I had in my life were there because I wanted them to be, not because I should. I hope that answers the question.
I love what you just said. This is a whole conversation that I get really fired up about.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you, because I've realized that actually my true passion, my real passion, over and above the work that I do around being single and not having kids, is actually helping women to realize that they have agency over their lives and that they get to create a life that they love and that they do not have to suck up a life that they don't love.
Mhm.
And I think you and I have been, I mean, our journeys are very different, but in some ways similar. I certainly got to a point where I was, you probably won't know this about me, but I'd worked at BBC Radio 2 for years, and then I did something completely crazy. I became a fucking detective for about 5 minutes. Absolutely hated it. But this was all like
That's
insane.
amazing.
I
Were
mean,
you
it was
like Olivia
absurd.
Benson? Oh my God.
It was like ridiculous. And I hated it. It was a shit show. I fucking hated it. But all that is to say really that I have tried this, I've tried that, I've tried the other, because I have never been the kind of person who can just sit in feelings of like, I know this isn't right for me, but I'm going to sit here anyway. And of course, I've done plenty of things where I've sat there, even though I knew in my heart that it wasn't right for me.
Well,
But I
sometimes we
always,
sit.
yeah, sometimes we have to, and we do, and we all do it. But I've always known that there was more for me, and I was searching and I was trying to find it in this job or that job, blah, 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 blah. But basically, yeah, all that to say that what you just said resonates so much, because you've kind of taken your life by the bollocks, and like you said, you've got rid of all of the crap that wasn't in alignment with who you are. And the truth is that any journey of growth is fucking uncomfortable, because you
Mhm.
do have to let go of people that you love, things. It's a really, really, really hard journey. And ultimately, you and I are really living outside the box of what is a so-called normal,
Right,
traditional
right,
life. I
right.
mean, what are your thoughts on that? Sort of this idea that we're swimming against the tide, because it's not always easy, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, I want to just comment too, like what you're saying. Yeah. You can choose comfort or you can choose growth. That's
Yeah.
Brene Brown. That's not me. You can choose comfort or you can choose growth, but you can't have both.
Yeah.
And I think we sometimes choose comfort while we're sussing out how we go and grow,
Yeah.
but eventually we choose growth. And it is always uncomfortable, but nothing will wreck you more than the first time that you were wildly uncomfortable. Like that's always the worst one. It doesn't get easier per se every time you blow your life up or you make a major change. I think you just get more comfortable in the relearning and unlearning and redoing and you know what I'm saying? I think it just
Yeah.
every subsequent change you just get more practiced
Yeah.
at.
And you get used to
You
the
know?
feeling of feeling uncomfortable, don't you?
Totally. I'm like, whatever. But you think this is gonna be the thing that breaks me? Get out of town. Here's what I've been through. Fine. I survived that. Call me whatever you want on the internet, please. 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 I'll
Totally.
just make content about it and make money off of it while you're still an asshole.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that box that we were given is really boring and really narrow and really limiting. And I think eventually when you're in the box, don't you just start bumping into the walls, like trying to escape it?
Yeah.
I know I did. And I think when we get ourselves out of the box, the matrix, the status quo, like everything opens up.
Yeah.
So I don't look at what we're doing as like unapologetic living. I have nothing to fucking apologize for. I'm not doing anything wrong, right? I'm just living. I'm just on an exploration over here.
Mm.
It's not bad or good, it's just mine.
Yeah.
And I think when we're deviating from that, we get a lot of pushback. When we're deviating from the norm, we get a lot of pushback from people who cannot get themselves off of the path for whatever reason. They don't want to, they're not ready, they never will. That's not my journey to take or my place to judge. It just is, it is what it is.
Yes.
So I think when people are there, they can only see from their vantage point. So they're judging, they're criticizing, they're questioning from what might be a very low vantage point versus I'm over here, like up the hill, up the mountain, looking over at a beautiful view, and I see what I see over here. And I don't expect you to see it unless you want to. And I don't care if you do or not, because I know that that's my view and that's my truth. Yeah. So I think it's, for me personally, I'd rather do that. I'd rather do what speaks to me than stay living someone else's life.
Completely. Can you just go back to the time when you were a teacher? And I know that you were in a relationship for a significant amount of time, that and you were doing that thing of kind of, it looked like you were walking down that traditional route and you were starting to tick the boxes. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got out of that. What happened?
Yeah. Sometimes I think, like, in an alternate universe, what my life would be like if I stayed with him. And then I, do a little Google search, and I see that he is happily living the life that he wanted, that it wouldn't have mattered if I was in it or not. He just airdropped someone else that matched his vision, right? They have $1 million house in Westchester. They got a couple of kids and they're doing that. And God bless, but that wasn't for me. And I don't know what it was. We were together for 8 years. I have nothing but love for him. Nothing but love. Like, I adore him. I think he is a wonderful person. We were young when we met. We were 20. Wow. And I liked him because he had Air Max sneakers and he wore a watch, right? Like, that was my qualifications for, and he was hot. He was hot, right? We were young. And I think as we grew up, we started to grow into ourselves a little bit. And we were best friends. Like, we grew up together. But we just wanted different things. And I didn't see myself in that life, like moving to the suburbs. And I don't know what it was, but there was something in me that, like, it grossed me out to be a mom. It grossed me out to have a yard and not live in the city. And you know what I mean? It just didn't feel right and honest to me. And, eventually we had our breakdown and our downfall, but I just knew that that wasn't for me. Yeah. It didn't feel how I wanted it to feel when I was in a relationship, right? I didn't feel free. I didn't feel like I was living this life of adventure and fun and elevated. It all just felt very safe and very boring. And I knew if I stayed, that was going to be my life. And I didn't want that. I don't know what it was that made me, like, get it together, but I was with that program, and we parted ways, after a couple of things that I won't get into, but yeah.
I completely relate to what you were just saying there. And most of my listeners will know that I had a series of, I always laugh when I say long term, because they're not long time at all. Like, my longest relationship is like 3.5, 4 years. And,
that's long. That's long enough.
It felt quite long. But I completely get where you were at. And actually, one thing that I wanted to ask you about, and this, I think this pertains to when you were teaching, but I wonder also if you felt like this when you were in that relationship. You talked about feeling anger. And I'm really intrigued to ask you about this, because anger is something that I used to feel a lot. And I know now that I look back and I understand these years later, that anger was coming from a place of frustration. Mm-hmm. I felt this kind of simmering anger inside of me for years, for decades, because I knew that I wasn't living a life true to me. And that is how it came out in me. It came out in me in anger. Mm-hmm. And when I heard you say that you had feelings of anger, I wanted to ask you about this, because I was like, oh my God, I totally get it.
Yes, exactly that. Like, I'm teaching, I'm with this relationship, we're going down this road where it's like teacher, caregiving, wife, mother, suburbs. None of that is who I am. And I felt like I was being compressed into something that wasn't for me, but I didn't have the words, vocabulary, or understanding at the time of what was actually happening. All I knew is that my visceral reaction was anger.
Yeah.
Anger was a symptom of the larger problem, which was the real true soul within me I was dishonoring her, and she was pissed.
Yeah.
And the only way that she could like make me see it, because I'm such a passionate person, was to have these like passionate responses. But I wasn't crazy. I wasn't angry. I didn't need to go on all the fucking medication that I was on. And I'm not saying that you don't need to be on medication. For me, that was just a band-aid for a problem that I think was misdiagnosed. I wasn't angry. I didn't have this problem. I wasn't bipolar. Do you know what I mean?
I
was
know
just
exactly what you mean, Angela. And I wonder
not in
how
the
many.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
I
was
wonder. Yeah, I
in the
wonder.
right life.
Yeah, and I wonder how many other people are in that exact situation. I wonder how many people in relationships
If you're
who've gone
crying,
down that road who are also feeling that kind of inner rage and can't quite put their finger on why they're feeling it. And actually, what is so interesting about the fact that you and I have such similar feelings to this, what is so interesting is that both of us were walking down that path because it is so dictated and expected that, when I was a little girl, I always thought I'd get married and have children. And I assumed that's what I wanted because that's what I was told that I would do. I never examined, is this for me? And as I've got older and dare I say wiser, I've realized that I don't think that was ever for me. And actually, you mentioned then how you sometimes think about your parallel life had you stayed with that boyfriend. I've had the same thoughts about various lovely, I might add, boyfriends that I've had over the years. And I've thought, for example, okay, one of my ex-boyfriends, such a lovely guy, sweetest guy, kind, really good looking, and
yeah.
actually has quite a lot of money, is now married with a child. They're living a pretty, affluent life. And genuinely, I would not swap that for what I have now. And it's so, so, so interesting. But going back to what I was saying just now about how it's really fascinating how both of us kind of started going down that path, but then went, hold on a minute, this is not in alignment with who I truly am. This doesn't feel right. But I think the confusion comes because of the narrative and because of the patriarchy and all of that. That's why we like zombies walk down this road.
Yeah.
Not everyone, of course, because some people love being married with kids. Of course, that's the case. But do you know what I mean?
I do. And I think to maybe liken this to something maybe more universal, think of like times in your life where you said yes to something that you knew was a hard fucking no. And you said yes to it and you're pissed off the entire time. You're up all night. You're anxious. You're driving to this thing that you said you would do that you don't want to fucking do. And you're pissed off the entire time. You look like shit. You're having diarrhea, right? Like I can give you a whole litany of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that is your body reacting to you not honoring your truth. And for some people like us, mine was absolute rage. Mine was rage. For some people, it's shutdown.
Yeah.
For some people, it's drinking or overeating or whatever. And I think we can look at some of our behaviors as just information that's leading to a larger, maybe more insidious problem that might be you're not listening to yourself. You're not listening to who you're meant to be and who your body, spirit, and soul is calling you to evolve into. And for me, I got that motherfucking wake up call when my dad died. And had I listened to all the other times that the world was like, psst, hey, girl, don't do that shit. If I listened and I was like not as stubborn and as immature as I was, maybe I would have started this journey earlier and different in my life and not have, I don't want to say wasted time, but what hurts me is that the person that I loved so much in my life was my dad, and he's not here to see me enjoy this life that I've created so honestly, authentically, and intentionally. And if anybody is listening who needs to hear this right now, like, you don't have to wait till your life blows up, and you don't have to wait to lose somebody to get on your path of authenticity. You can literally do it right now. So if you're feeling this like resentment and this anger, use it. Use it. That's your compass. That is directing you to start asking the questions of like, why do I feel resentful? What am I doing that I don't want to be doing? And then you can, and then that question leads to solutions.
Yeah.
That question leads to solutions.
You just said that so beautifully. And again, this is the thing that it fires me up more than pretty much anything. Like, it really, truly does. So thank you for just putting that in such a way, way more articulate way than I'm so like bumbling, and you're just like nailing it. But anyway, now one thing again, it's another thing I heard you say that I'm smiling to myself because it resonates.
I say a lot of things. I'm like, I don't know what's coming out of your mouth next.
It's so scary when people say that, isn't it? Like, I'm like, oh my God.
Like you said, I'm like, I'm sure I did. Go ahead.
Do you know, honestly, when I think back over the nearly 4 years of having a podcast and being interviewed for other people's podcasts, I swear to God, if I went back and listened to every word that I'd said over the last 4 years, I would want to die. I would be so mortified. But actually, because we are constantly changing and growing, and it depends on, the mood you're in or whatever. But anyway, don't worry too much, because the thing that I heard you say made me smile so much because it resonated with me just hard. And the reason it resonates with me is because I talk a lot about how I feel that I'm the best version of myself when I'm single. And you said, and I love this quote, I am the worst version of myself when I'm in a relationship with a man. And I'm reading this off my notes, and I've written in caps lock, me too, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. So I just wanted to talk to you about this, because when you said that, I was like, oh my God, I just relate to this woman so much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Thanks, I guess. Yeah. I see you, girl. I see you. And look, I think that's an honest statement of what has been true in my life. And again, I'm willing to say those things out loud so that I can check myself, assess myself, and figure out what I need to do if I want to do it moving forward.
Yeah.
I do know that being the worst version of myself, the one who's just like a fucking sack of shit, like I'm a pick me. I've been a pick me girl in this, whatever you want. And I like lose myself. I lose my autonomy. I lose all the cool shit that is amazing about me because some man decided that I'm too much, right? Get out of here. Go find less. Go find less. So I think I've had to do some unpacking of like how I got there, where I learned that, like what wounds I needed to heal. Thanks, mom and dad. Do you know what I mean? I've had to do some of that work around my attachment and my, the way I viewed relationships. But I also think it allowed me to do two things. One, build a better relationship with myself. I think because I was so like a puddle on the floor in relationships, I had to get really crystal clear on like who I was and what I wanted. And I started dating myself. What do I want from somebody? I don't even know. I don't even know because I don't know what I want. So I started going out and living my life as I would with a partner, right? Because I knew that the partnerships I were in like weren't working, but what did I want? What could I expect from a partnership? Well, I don't know, girl, go try it out. So it was like trial and error with me. And in that process, I also learned, number 2, to build relationships outside of romance. And those two things have helped me. And I have to maybe retrain myself to say this because it's not decentering men. I think it's centering myself in my life. Yeah. And by having these really knockdown, drag out ass relationships, I've learned how to put myself as the focal point, as the main character, as the queen in my life. And I've built beautiful friendships, beautiful intimate relationships with other women. And I don't mean intimate as the sexual kind. I mean intimacy as like, I see you, girl. I see you, I hear you, and what you say matters. You matter, and we matter in this reciprocal relationship. And I put myself at the center. With that said, I don't know what it's going to look like moving forward in a relationship with a man, but I can say that if it never happens, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay because my life is fulfilling.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing anything. I'm not looking for a man to fix anything. I think the thought of a partnership with a really great man who lets me be exactly who I am. And when the shit that comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth, he's going to be like, all right, cool. That's my woman. Love it. And he'll defend me and he'll have my back the way that I'll have his. And I can't, like, that sounds intriguing to me. And I love that, but I'm not going to settle for anyone just to have someone, I'll pass, because that's when I become the absolute worst version of myself. And that will never happen again. So I stay centering myself in my life, and whoever is coming in and out and who I meet, I love it. I think it's great. And I meet men, I have a great time, and it'll go as far as it needs to go until it's not great.
No, I fucking hear you. I really do. I mean, I think I would even go so far as to say, and I have said this on the podcast before, but I would even go so far as to say that even if I met a guy who was all the things that you just described, I still don't know whether I'd want to give up this single life, because speaking to what you were just saying about you in your previous relationships, and I relate to that completely. What I find so wonderful about being single, that was the flip of that in relationships, is that it's like my drive goes out the window. My drive for my life, because it all becomes about them and us and the relationship and what do they want and what's right for the relationship. And so what I find that I sacrifice in relationships is, the fullest expression of me. And that's why even if a guy came along who accepted, because I think we are quite similar in the way that we could both be described as too much by the wrong guy, for sure. And I'm pretty damn sure that I have been described as too much. But like you said, well, go and get less.
Please let me step aside and make it easy for you to get the fuck out of my life. Thanks. But I think what I'm here, like what you're saying really just like connected something for me. I think the reason that maybe, the reason I'm the worst version of myself, and maybe this will land for you too, is that the typical patriarchal relationship that we have been indoctrinated to believe is the apex of living, that is the goddamn promised land, doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. And I have tried it every which way since Sunday to make it happen. And it always leaves me unfulfilled. It leaves me mentally ill, and it leaves me a mess. And again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I've been able to pull myself out of that and like re-establish myself as a human being, and defining what a relationship needs to look like moving forward. I have that for myself. And it oftentimes really rubs up against the stereotypical patriarchal relationship where like the man is it. And if you get chosen, you just get into his car and his white horse carriage, and you get carried down into his life. And that's not it. That doesn't work for me. And I think getting into a relationship with someone who believes that is always going to leave me feeling unfulfilled. So that typical, stereotypical, this is what your life needs to look like, the marriage, the kids, the mom, the babies, the house, again, all created by patriarchy, all created by capitalism, all stemming and rooting from, and I can't speak in other countries, but over here in the States, a little bit of white supremacy worked in there too, right? And all of those things don't work for me. You know, a mom, are you kidding me? In this world where we're unsupported and expected to work full time and carry kids and go through a healthcare system where my life is put at risk, you've got to be out of your mind. You've got to be out of your mind. No thanks. I'd be a dad. Maybe I'd be a dad where I could like wrestle 20 minutes before bedtime and just be like, go get him, babe. And then just sit there on the couch with my hands down my pants doing absolutely nothing. I'd sign me up. Who wants me as a dad? I'd do that.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Can I just pick up on one thing that you said? And please. So it's so random, but I have to say it because I feel called to say it. So you said, you know, the traditional way that relationships are and how men relate to women and women relate to men. It's like the woman gets into the guy's car. You know, one thing that's always really got on my tits is the fact that it's like you look in any family car driving down the road and the fucking man's driving. And I'm like, I like driving. If I'd got married and had kids, I'd be like, no, it's not automatically going to be my husband that drives it. I know this is really petty, really pathetic. It's such a small thing, but if you actually think about it, how often do you see, especially, you know, it's been summer, families on holiday, it's always the fucking man driving the car. And I don't believe that's because men like driving more than women. I love driving. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I just had to say that because when you said getting into the guy's car, I just thought, yeah, men always fucking drive.
Well, that's metaphorical. That's metaphorical. Like you're in the driver's seat of your life.
Yeah.
Don't hand over the keys. Like unless someone understands fully where he has to take you. Right? Like, and you're telling him that, you know what I mean? I'm just cautious now. Like, I don't want to give anybody the keys unless I understand that, like, I'm on this trajectory with this vision. Maybe we get a bike, like we ride bikes next to each other instead. I don't know. Yeah, I like that metaphor. Like, don't give up your autonomy and give the keys to your life to somebody else.
Completely. Going back to the child not having kids thing, just briefly tell us a little just about you being a dad instead of a mum.
Be a dad. Yeah.
I love that. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, did you always know that you didn't want kids?
I think so. I think when I go back in my life, I wasn't necessarily like playing with dolls in that kind of maternal way. I think I did a little bit because it's what I was mirroring around me. But I think as I got older and into more like conscious play with like Barbies when I was like 8 or 9, I had a whole Barbie dream house, okay, with like different rooms and furniture, and Barbie did shit. Like each room in the house had Barbie doing something, okay? It wasn't like Barbie's the mom here and Barbie's the mom there. No, Barbie was like in a hot tub. Barbie was like Dr. Barbie. There was like Barbie's hanging by the little, you know, the elevator because she's like badass Barbie. She's super like, I look back on that very vividly because I started to be in that. And I think any inkling of my wanting children was when I was in that relationship because I did love him. I did care about him, and I did believe that like that's what you did. You got into a relationship and you had babies and you did that thing. Now, had I had a baby when I was young, and I'm talking like early 20s, maybe late 20s, if I had a baby then, before I actually figured out who the fuck I was, I could see how that would work. I could see how that would have been maybe a choice for me. But as I've evolved and as I hang out in my life and I have built a lot of peace and a lot of autonomy, a lot of freedom, a lot of things that I love, I don't see how having a child, I don't see how it would fit in my life. I don't see how it would work. And even if I had a baby when I was younger, I think I would have been a great mom, but I don't think I would have loved my life.
Yeah.
And that's a distinction. I'm sure there's a lot of women who could relate to that. Like they're always like, I love my kids. Like they need to preface any statement about hating motherhood with I love my kids. Nobody's taking that away from you. I understand why you would hate your life. My understandings of patriarchy, my understanding of the exploitation of our labor, my understanding of just like what I want, it wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't work for me. And I'd be really fucking pissed off every day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I hear you so, so much. I've said before on this podcast that I think if I had ended up going down that road and I'd had kids, I think I would hate my fucking life. And I think I would be resentful. And I think I would, I like
Love
to
your
think I would-
kids, right?
Yeah,
I'd like to
yeah,
think I'd
yeah.
love my
And
kids.
of course I would have loved them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I think I would have ended up being one of those resentful, bitter women who hated her life and kind of, yes, even though I love my kids, actually, I would be filled with regret and filled with anger and frustration about what I hadn't got to do with my
Right.
life.
Yeah.
You just mentioned the word peace. I think peace is one of the biggest benefits of being single and not having kids. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, peace is going to look different for everybody, right? If you truly love your choices as a mom, like maybe your peace is a noisy Saturday morning. That sounds like my hell. But if that is your peace,
Yeah.
I fucking love that for you. Let me give you a hand for that. Like I truly do. Um, Again, I think it's a choice of where you align your values and what really feels good for you. And as someone who lived a very chaotic life and has a lot of chaotic relationships, there is something that I really feel softens me and makes me like calm my central nervous system, which is having peace at this phase in my life. And again, I can attribute to it the fact that I don't have children. So maybe there's a correlation there. I don't know. I can only speak on what it is for me. And I really do love it. I love having quiet. I love having silence. I love having like my space just be mine where I get to reset. Because one thing I want to say too is just because I don't have kids doesn't mean that I'm not nurturing and I'm not maternal. And although I also don't think a woman's proximity to those things determine her value and worth either. So if you are not maternal and nurturing things, congrats, you're still a woman. You're still doing great. Still doing great. But for me, I'm doing it in other ways. I'm nurturing the girlies. I'm nurturing the women like us, right? I'm nurturing the community. I have a lot of things where I'm giving love and attention to. And if I didn't have this peace in this cute little apartment with all of my thriving plants, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to lead the way that I'm lead, to create what I'm creating, and to show up in this space where I validate women's experiences. I wouldn't be able to do that. So right now that piece is chef's kiss for me.
Yeah, completely. I totally relate to that. And I find I am so grateful for the peace that I have in my life the vast majority of the time. I mean, I have a cat. I know you had a dog too. And so we're obviously both
Yeah.
animal lovers. And I mean, I am like literally obsessed with my cat. But some days, in fact, funnily enough, today, he's an outdoor cat. He's completely crazy, but he's amazing.
How's that for him?
He's an adventurer and he lives his best fucking life. And I feel like I'm the best cat mom on the planet, actually.
You are. Period.
I just think I am.
Yeah.
However, obviously, one of the things of having an outdoor cat is that, especially someone like Johnny, who is completely bonkers and very curious and very adventurous. So he's had various injuries. He's come in with like a half closed eye before. He's coming with like a lump on his head, and I mean, God knows
Living
what.
his
Anyway,
life, living his best
what I
life.
noticed this morning is he's got this wound on the inside of his paw. And I don't know what he's done. So anyway, I just discovered this, but it happens that today I booked a video vet appointment, which I get through my insurance for him. So I get a free video consult with a vet, which I'm having like later on this evening. Anyway, why am I telling you this? Yeah, just because I sometimes feel like even with him, God knows I don't regret getting him. I mean, he's the best thing in my life. I adore him. But there is a part of me that's like, oh my God, I might as well have had a kid because I worry about him so much. And, so to your point
Yeah.
about how women can be maternal in other ways, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like I also do that with my community, and I do it with Johnny. And, hopefully I do it with friends and all the
Yeah.
rest of it. But I really do think peace is, there are so many, this is something I talk about a lot. There are so many underrated benefits, and I think peace really is one of them. Now, I'm aware of the time. One thing I really wanted to speak to you about is girls like you and I in our situation, there can be a sacrifice in the form of financial means and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it's not a conversation I have a lot on this podcast. I try to really focus more on the benefits than the downsides of being single. That's just who I am. That's my particular message. But I know that people really like hearing us having conversations about things like
Because
this.
it's honest and it's real.
Exactly, because it is honest and real. And so I'm really interested to hear from your perspective, because I wonder whether, because obviously, like, our situations, I'm certainly not living in a fucking mansion with a pool, blah, 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 and have,
I don't own
money.
anything.
Right.
Okay. I
I
own
hear you.
nothing.
Yeah. So there is that sacrifice. But
Cool.
I feel very happy with the sacrifices that I've made, because the other side of it, which is my autonomy, which is my independence, which is my freedom, which is my peace, which is all of the things that I love about my life, they are more important to me than those material things. But I think this is
Yes.
something that women really fucking struggle with. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I mean, basically what you said, I think there's always a coin toss, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you? Look, you got to choose your hard and you got to choose your suck. This is life. No one gets out of this like scot-free, right? Like, there's no easy path. So you just have to choose what hard is going to work for you. You have to choose what shitty shit is going to work for you. And I think we often feel like, as single and child-free women, like this rub when we're not choosing home ownership, or we're like, oh, I'm not doing these things. I don't have this particular life, or I haven't had this much saved. Let me tell you this. Who said? Who said that you have to fucking do any of that? So much of where these things come from are from these patriarchal and capitalistic norms, right? Like, I don't want to subscribe to any of that shit. I don't. First of all, if anyone tells you that you have to own a house by a certain age on one income, I think is egregious. You think that I'm going to work a full-time job and do everything that I'm doing and then go and mow a lawn? You got to be out of your mind. No, thank you. I have other things that I would rather do with my time than mow a lawn and change shingles or whatever the fuck you're supposed to do. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to do any of that. And to me, I would rather live in an apartment and pay rent, because it gives me the freedom and flexibility to bounce out when I want to leave and when I want to go do something, right? I would rather have one income where I'm like, woo, rubbing nickels together, than come home and clean up after a man. Okay? Sure, my life would be financially easier, but I'm sure that it would bring a whole other litany of problems that I'm not ready to take on. Right. So the point is, when we do feel that rub of like, oh, my life would be easier. And yeah, maybe in some ways, but who said that that life is the pathway to freedom and joy? I think there's a lot of people who digested that and are very disappointed on the fallout of promises. Like, that's not the promised land that you told me I was going to have. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's okay when we have a conversation and pull back and say, oh, okay, well, where am I? Does this make me happy? Am I willing to put up with this level of suck? Because I definitely don't want to put up with that. So just choose your hard and choose your suck, because you're going to have to choose it either way. You're going to get it either way. So
Such wise words. And actually, just to pick up on one thing there, which is, I think the problem is that the kind of quote normal measure of success in the world that we live in tends to be on material possessions.
correct.
How big's the house? What car are you driving? What shoes are you wearing? Stuff that I couldn't give a flying fuck about.
Change your success metrics, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
to me, I'm like, if you believe that like having a house and 2 luxury cars and working a job you hate, sleeping next to somebody who makes your skin crawl, all to get up and wipe somebody's ass in the morning. If that's your pinnacle of success, I love that for you. I hope you achieve it. To me, I think getting up on a peaceful day, like a peaceful morning, and having the freedom to do whatever I want, that's my success metric.
That's wealth.
Let me go back to what I said in the beginning. Do I get up and do I get to go outside? Sure. I walk so much. I have the freedom to to get out. Do I eat good food? Yes, I do. Do I hang around people that want to be around me and there's reciprocity? Absolutely. Am I connecting to my purpose? Yes. That's my success metrics. Like, that's how I know that I'm living like a fulfilling life. It has nothing to do with things I can't control. I can't control if I'm married. I can't control how much money I make to a degree, right? But it could all go away. And if you're measuring your success on things that are outside of yourself and outside of your control, then you are always going to feel like you are lacking success. If you put the success metric on yourself, on what you are able to control and what is in the realm and scope of your own possibility, you will always feel rich every day of your life.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. And just to add, one thing that I always say is that I personally measure success on how often do I feel good?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I bet you feel good quite a lot of the time. I bet you feel joyful quite a lot of the time.
I feel
Regularly.
stressed. Let me don't get me wrong. Like, I feel stressed. I feel like
Same.
Lonely sometimes, but I think, at the top of it, like, I'm always good, but there are these moments. But as a whole, I'm fucking stoked. I love my life. I'm very, very happy. And I have these moments of like fuckery, but as a whole, I'm just beyond grateful.
Yeah.
Beyond grateful and joyful.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we start wrapping up, let me ask you one more question, actually, because I think this is something that people would love to hear from you, which is, what do you struggle with the most? Like, we were talking about the kind of like the realities of, particularly the financial situation and all of this. What else about single life do you struggle with the most, do you think? Or what else do you see other single women struggling with the most?
I think the thing that I struggle with the most is maintaining friendships in my life that best serve and align with me, and also are friendships where I contribute and we contribute together. Like, there's that reciprocity and mutuality together where like my gifts are received as well, and I feel loved and supported. And I think there are a lot of residual relationships in my life that have hung around that represent various phases in my life that I love them dearly. And it's difficult for me to disentangle and let go, because I do find some value in the friendship and some comfort in the friendship, although I know that they are not serving me to the next level. So I think my struggle is how to manage that, because I know not everybody is going to give you 100% of everything all the time, right? And there's a difference between like boundaries and standards and expectations, and just figuring out what those are and how those relationships can still be in my life without feeling so misaligned sometimes. I love people. I'm a Leo man. I am loyal as shit. Like, I will drive across the country for you. I'm in there like swimwear with my friendships. And I have to have, I think, a better management system for myself of like, okay, maybe you need to match that energy, or maybe you don't need to reach out as much because this friendship needs to be placed over here in this category, so that you can make space for more fulfilling and aligned relationships that you're building. I hope I'm explaining that. I'm still figuring out how to put it into words, but I do struggle with letting go of old relationships. And I think, as I talked about in the beginning, it's always a practice of evolving into yourself. And I'm still learning. I just turned 44, and I feel like for the first time in my life, something switched. Right. My birthday was this past July, and I can honestly say, like, something's different.
Right.
I'm out of debt. I am in a new place in my life. I think I've been grieving for 10 years. So coming out of this sad girl era and into a more joyful era is new. It's new to me. And I'm realizing a lot of my friendships have been predicated on my sadness because they too were sad. So there's like a trauma bond, but I don't want to be sad anymore. I'm thankful for all the sadness and all the bullshit that has gotten me to this place, but I'm at a jumping off point where I'm ready to experience more joy. And I want more people in my life who I do joy with than I do struggle with because I'm not there anymore.
God, I get that so much. You explained it, by the way,
I hope
perfectly.
so. I hope so. I hope
You
so.
you really well, put it this way, I
You got it?
100%
Pick up what I'm
understood.
putting down?
I absolutely fucking picked up what you were putting down. I totally understood exactly what you were saying, and surprise, and I've said this about everything you said. I'm like, I relate, I resonate. Well, I do,
Yeah.
and I think it can be incredibly tricky. I think friendships are in many ways harder to navigate than romantic relationships because there's an awkwardness in having conversations about friendships that aren't really serving us anymore, that's different in a romantic, if you want to get out of a romantic relationship, you kind of just
Break up.
you kind of just break up or you're
Well,
done.
imagine if this brings up such a good conversation, right? Imagine if we held our friendships to the same standards and same expectations that we have for our romantic partners, and we were as quick to call bullshit on our friendships as we were our romantic partners, right? Like, how many days
Yeah,
is a partner not allowed to call you
yeah,
versus how many times have you been the one to reach out? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that this is a conversation I'm checking myself.
it's a really tricky one, and
Yeah.
you know what, I know for a fact that there are many women, and I think it's possibly more of an issue for single women because we don't have that kind of
Built
romantic
in.
partner
Mhm.
support. Yeah, exactly, that
Yeah, yeah,
built-in
yeah.
support. I've had multiple conversations about how much women struggle with adult friendships. And actually, what I wanted also to say off the back of what you said is that I think one of the really tricky things is that when you are growing and evolving, and perhaps some of them are not, and they are in the same place, having the same conversations about the same people, doing the same things, it becomes frustrating because, like, I personally, I don't want to be having the same fucking conversations that I was having when I was 32. I just don't. I find it dull. And there are relationships in my life where I do have those conversations, and it's like I kind of morph into that older version, that rather younger rather, but the old version of me,
Yeah, yeah.
the younger woman. Um, and I struggle with it. I'm not going to lie. I struggle with it. But like you were saying, these are people who I adore, who I love, and who I want in my life. But it's not easy. But I don't hang out with them all the time because I
Right. You have
don't
to just
think
put them, where do they go? Where do they go?
exactly. But it's
Yeah.
very, very tricky. Again, I think when you're evolving into a different version of yourself, some of us are, some of us aren't. No judgment, whatever, each to their own. But
All in
when
our
you
journey.
are changing and evolving and becoming literally a different person, because I feel like I've shed so much shit and I've shed so many layers of myself to get back to who I truly fucking am. What I discovered is actually I'm not the same person as I was back then, and I'm not the same as them. And actually there's a massive misalignment. And there's almost a bit of kind of awkwardness in some of those relationships. But it's really hard to end a friendship. And in the event of not ending the friendship, like you were saying, how do you find that balance? This is complex.
Yeah, this is a whole other podcast,
It
but it's
is.
true. It's true. I think in this again, when you are single, this is a beautiful gift that you give to yourself, is to be able to have these conversations, and especially when you don't have any kids. It is just you, and you don't have to allow yourself to grow into a role with someone else. And it's so empowering and so freeing because you are who you are, independent of anybody else. And sometimes, if your friends have not chosen that, They are who they are while being connected to the roles that they're playing to other people. So much of what they do for others and who they are for others is wrapped up in themselves. And a lot of that, it can be misaligned for how you view and live your life too. So I think having these conversations as someone who is single and child free can be one of the most empowering things that you ever do. And it just means that you need to now go and find more people who are sharing in your lifestyle choices and sharing in your value set and see the world the way that you do, so that you can feel seen, heard, supported, and that they can now uplift each other,
Yeah.
right? In the trajectory of your life, because maybe that's not happening in some of those other relationships.
Completely. And speaking of which, tell us about the Single Child Free Network. Tell us all about it.
It's so funny to me, and I don't want to, it's not trivial, but just how all of this started. I went on a rant on social media. I had a really shitty therapy session that I was like, you're not listening to me. And then ended the therapy session. Okay. That's what was happening. Yeah. So I was like, fuck that bitch. And I just like went on. And I went on a rant of like, nobody understands how fucking hard this is. And I just said what I needed to say. I was saying what I was saying in therapy, to which the therapist wanted to yeah, but me. And I pressed send, I pressed post, and it went viral. It went viral on TikTok. And I was like, no shit, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And this is really the first time that I started sharing a lot of, like, this was the most personal thing that I've shared on the internet at the time. And it blew up. And the responses were, oh my God, I feel seen. We need a space for us too. And I was like, say less. I got it. So I created this spreadsheet, and there's like over like almost 1,000 people on the spreadsheet of women across the United States. Sorry, my international friends, like one thing at a time. I'm just sticking to the United States, right? You could join the group, but the spreadsheet is just for people in the US. And it was like, where are you from? What's your name? Where are you from? What city? And what can you help with? Like, do you need help watering plants? Do you need someone to drive you to a colonoscopy? Like, we're menopausal women. Like, we have shit that we need to get done, and we need help and support. And I don't have a ride if I'm under anesthesia, right? So I created this so that we could all connect. And then in the United States, there is a very tumultuous political climate that threatens women who do not fall in line with the patriarchy. And then it became unsafe to me. I felt very unsafe to me to have this spreadsheet be public.
God, yeah.
So then I was like, guys, we're taking this party. And I also, Facebook, he's in bed with Trump. So I was like, no, thanks. So I just started the group on my website. And I do have to charge because it costs a lot to host a website. And it also is an investment. Like, I want people to invest in themselves, invest in committing to this journey and this platform together. But it's nominal because I know single tax, I get it. So now we have a private group. It's called the Single and Child Free Network. And there's women from across the United States and one person from Canada as of yesterday. So yeah, it's a place for us to land, because there's so much dismissal. I mean, you see it too. Anytime you open your mouth on social media and say, I love my life as a single person, there's always someone,
Oh God.
or five, who come in and like, you're missing out on the best joys of life, not having kids. You're not doing your job. Like, the people from the manosphere come in, please get out of your mom's basement, for the love of God. And there isn't a place for us to just say, hey, this is hard, because immediately we get downplayed of like, well, try having kids. Everyone's hell is hot. Okay. We're two ships fighting against patriarchy in our own way. It's failing all of us women. So just give us a moment to just say, hey, our ship is sinking too. That's all. That's all we want. I'm not trying to compete for the struggle Olympics. I just want a place to say this shit sucks too. So that's what we do in the group. And we have discussions. We also do co-working every week, because executive functioning for one person in one life that's designed for couples, when you have to like work full-time, cook, clean, pay your taxes, get your car oil changed, go do this thing, it's a lot. So we show up every week, we do co-working, and then I try to have like one workshop a month where it can just give us some tips, tools, and resources and bring ease to our life. Like we just had a tax talk on ways we can get some tax breaks and maximize our tax benefits. I have women coming in talking about like, hey, menopause is coming. Here's what you can do. And just like I said, ways that we can help ease some of the stressors that we feel so we all just feel supported and less alone. And it's blowing up. I never in a million years like thought that this is what, like I didn't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to do this thing. It just sort of
just happened.
Evolved. And the more that I talk my shit and share my stories of like, guess what happened? More women are like, oh my God, me too. And they feel seen, heard, and supported. And I am honored to have a soapbox to represent this life and to champion us and to say your life matters, your choices matter, and you matter.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely fabulous. How can people join it? I mean, I will obviously put any links in the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah, just you can follow me on the socials. Like then the link is in my bio, and it's the same across. It wasn't pretentious. That was all that was available. All right. The Angela Gentile, and it's that on TikTok, on Instagram, and it's also my website, theangelagentile.com, and everything is there, and you can join, and it's $5 a month for now, and might increase it just because this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work.
And you got to earn a living. You got to earn a living.
Yeah, but I also want to be respectful that it is hard out here, and we're all just trying our best. So I encourage anyone who's feeling maybe motivated by our conversation, who sees themselves in this conversation, just join, come hang out, come get the support you need, because you're not alone. You might feel alone wherever you are in your proximity, because we're not concentrated. It's not like all the single people live in Austin, Texas. No, it's not that. We are just spread out all over the place. And if we can congregate online, at least it's something. And in the future, I'd like to do like a conference. Will you come across the pond? I think we need to do something like that, like a single child free conference where it's a whole weekend of just cool shit. That's going to take a little bit of planning and finances. But that I see something like that happening where we do like a big grandiose meetup.
Do you know, it's so funny because I've had similar thoughts, and I've thought that because I've had so many wonderful guests on this podcast, and I've often thought how I'd love to get, maybe it's a conversation that you and I should have offline, baby. Because I just think I am one of the privileges of having a podcast like this is the number of people I get to meet like you. It's fucking incredible, actually.
Wow.
It's amazing. I feel so genuinely lucky. But yeah, so the Single Childfree Network, people can go to your Instagram or your website and join up. It sounds absolutely fabulous.
And the TikTok.
And the TikTok. Sorry, I always forget TikTok because I'm only on Instagram.
I swore I would never be on the TikTok, and I fucking love it. I love TikTok until they take it away from us. It's fine. And you can also check out my podcast too. We have to do a little podcast exchange. It's called the Empowered Millennials. And although I don't keep the focus on single and child-free people, a lot of my guests are. But what is really cool about said guests isn't their story of being single and child-free. It's what they're doing. It's how they're living their lives, like changing the world, changing the game, doing what has yet to be done. And I think when we share our stories of living outside of the box and doing brave, dope shit, it inspires people to do the same in their life. So it's called the Empowered Millennials. We're all out here doing cool things. And I like to just share people's stories and hope that it lands for people to like take big, bold, brave action in their life too.
Yeah. Angela Gentile, it has just been completely fabulous to talk to you. Before we really do wrap up, just tell me what it means to you to thrive solo.
To be honest. It's to live honestly and authentically. That's it. That's how you thrive, is when you honor your truth. Yeah. None of that resentment, none of that anger, none of those toxic patterns. It is just the most freeing, honest, and authentic experience.
So simple, so true. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time. I think you are just fabulous. Sending you lots of love.
Same, friend. Thank you, everybody.
Lots of love.